everybody. My name is Darian, and welcome to Planning Together, where every week I invite a friend on to share with us how they are organizing their life and their heart, y'all. So if you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you do not miss out on future videos. And y'all, I am so excited because Tracie is joining me today. And if you don't know Tracie, like, you're about to meet her. She is not only a planner girl, but she is also a psychologist, y'all, and she is a wealth of knowledge. She lives in Michigan with her husband and her 4 children and beautiful grandbaby, and she has been a planner girl all the way back since the Franklin Covey days, y'all. So go ahead and light up those comments and help me welcome Tracie to Planning Together. Hey, Tracie.
Hello.
Hello. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. It was cold and kind of rainy here today, so it was a good day to sort of just be in. Fortunately, I'm very, very blessed to be working from home. So during all this craziness, so it was a good day to just be at home.
Yes.
So I'm doing well.
Oh, that's so good to hear. Thank you so much for joining me. If y'all don't know, so I met Tracie through the Moxie Life community. Yes. And she, like, every Wednesday, Tracie, can you actually tell us a little bit about what you do with Moxie Life and how you kind of got involved in Moxie Life?
Yeah, I'm the wellness coordinator. Yes, that fits for me because I just was saying to Darian earlier, big shocker that positive psychology is something that's very important to me. And a lot of times when you think psychology, people think pathology, like that we're looking for what's wrong. And sometimes that's the case, like, when somebody's depressed or anxious, that kind of thing. But my sort of viewpoint is to look for the positive side. What's some stuff that we can be resilient and to thrive, right? Mm-hmm. And so when COVID first started, my coworkers, I work in an office, there's only 7 of us, and we're all pretty close. I started sending these wellness tips every day because we didn't get like the coffee clutch moment, right? We didn't get to stand at the coffee pot and ask about each other's kids and how we were doing. And so I'm a relational person. And so I just wanted to keep in touch with them. So every day I find some wacky picture or whatever was on my mind in the moment. And I would send a little blurb every day to my coworkers in our group chat and include a picture or whatever. So Sierra and I were talking about this one day, and I'll kind of get into how I even met Sierra. And we were kind of just checking in, like, how are you doing during this COVID time and that kind of thing. And I said, yeah, I send my coworkers these messages every morning. And I still do to this day. And we're going into 6 months of COVID at this point. And so Sierra asked if I would do something like that once a week, focusing on mental health and wellness for our Moxie Life community. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. Yes, please. And thank you for asking. And so that's how I got involved, is us just talking about, my silly messages I send to my coworkers every day. And every time I say, do you want me to stop? Is this getting annoying? No, we look forward to those. I'm like, all right. And so, yeah, to this day, going on 6 months, I still send a message. Now, I don't do weekends and holidays, things like that. They get a break from me. But work days, they get a message from me every day at about 5 to 8. Just kind of a good morning, positive message, letting them know I think about them and I care about them.
Tracie, like, that's just so sweet. Like, I'm over here like, that's so nice and so genuine. Like, I'm like, and it's so nice to, I mean, like, I know this, but it's nice to, like, know that how you are, like, with me, you're like that with all your coworkers, because I know you would send me messages with, like, funny memes and just encouragement, and I'm like, oh, I love Tracie. The fact that you do that with your coworkers, like, that's so kind. I'm just like, I feel like I need to do that.
Well, I'll be the first to admit, openly, I'll admit, some of it is very selfish because, again, I'm a relationship person.
Mm-hmm.
And this time where we can't necessarily, I mean, it's better now, but, in the beginning, in March, April, May, you couldn't be with people. If they didn't live with you, you couldn't be there. And so it was important to me to stay connected to people. And so, yeah, I was sending messages to folks and checking up on my friends that, I may not talk to them every day, but once or twice a month, I'd send a message and say, hey, I'm thinking about you. How are you doing? That kind of thing. And so, yeah, as much as it sounds sweet, it was also very selfish because I wanted to remain connected to them. And that was my way of doing it. So, yeah, but they hear from me every day.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yes.
I can't wait to talk more about that. But the very first thing I like to get started with is you are not only a psychologist, but you are a planner girl. And people are now saying planner babe. That's
planner babe. Yeah.
Babe. And so I want to know, what was your first planner and what planners are you currently using?
Okay. Franklin Covey. That big old, I think I had the would be probably closest to the A5 size. And I really just used it functionally, right? It was, I have this meeting at this time and this appointment at that time and this project at this time. And so that's kind of how I started. I've been a stationary girl, and my husband laughs at me about my pen stash because there is a pen stash in several drawers and you have to have permission.
Do you have a favorite?
It depends on what I'm doing.
Okay.
And so, we can talk about that. For my planner, I have to have an erasable pen, and I love that. But if I'm taking notes or at work, I use an RSVP Pentel fine point because there's a lot of friction and it kind of slows me down a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I was a Franklin Covey person. And then day timer, day runner, just those functional, carry it in your briefcase kind of a thing. I didn't really discover planners like this until December. When I came across Moxie Life, as I was searching for a planner, I really wanted something to use for goal setting because I've done goal setting. I've done it with my clients, and I kind of wanted to kick it up a notch a little bit. And so I was searching for something. And as I searched, I was like, stickers? Wait, what? What? We can do this? What? And so, yeah, that's when I stumbled into Planner Babe world is last year. As long as I've used planners and stationery and journals and pens, I've done that all my adult life. Mm-hmm. But, I stumbled into this other world, and now I'm done. I'm a goner. I'm in there.
You're in, and you're like, there's no way I'm getting out. Okay, so how many planners do you use now?
Okay, so I have in my A5, and I know, isn't that pretty? It's a Carpe Diem binder, but what's in it is my beloved Moxie Life.
Wait, did I know this?
I don't know.
You put your planner in rings. I don't think I knew this.
Okay, so back in February, another one of my Planner Babe friends was at the house. She uses the Simplified, and she had stopped by to visit, and she pulled out her Simplified, and Simplified is typically on a coil. Mm-hmm. And she goes, yeah, let me show you something. And I said, wait a minute, don't you use Simplified? And she goes, yeah, that's what this is. And I'm like, but it's in an A5. And she said, well, I wanted it off the coil. And I'm like, you can do that? She's like, yes. So she told me how. So my day in, day out workhorse, you see, she's all decorated. My day in, day out workhorse, touch it every day, coffee stains in it, highlighter, my mile liners, that my girl, this is my girl. Like,
did you name her?
Maybe not yet, but it may be coming. I don't know. If Sierra were to ever take away the flagship planner, I'm pretty confident it would be a mutiny. Even if it's just me, because even though I took it off the coil, this is my life is in here, right? It is in here. So that's what's in there.
Okay.
So I was also by Miss Sierra. I also have a regular Moxie Life.
Okay. Is that what layout is that? So are they the same layout?
Yeah, horizontal. I'm horizontal girl. Horizontal girl.
Okay.
This is my academic planner. So she is all things doctoral degree. So my goals for reading, I have some academic affirmations in here. When papers are due. I did a vision board for my doctorate degree.
Okay, lift it up just a little bit. Oh my goodness, that's so awesome.
And so this is all things doctoral degree are in here in the one I left on the coil. And then I'm dabbling just recently, like 2 weeks ago, maybe. Some Michael's had pages, just inserts on clearance. And I'm dabbling with daily. I don't know how I feel about it yet. And so I bought some daily sheets that were just on clearance. I think I paid like $4 for them. And I use this for writing because my writing partner and I are writing a book. And so this is what I use for writing. So how many pages, what characters we need to flesh out. My affirmations are in here and my gratitude, because my workhorse girl sometimes doesn't have a lot of space left. So I've moved my gratitudes in here. So I do gratitudes every night in here in the daily pages. I haven't decided if I'm sold on them or not, but I figure for $3-4 I'd try it.
Yeah.
And then in my wallet.
Oh, I'm learning so much about you tonight, Tracie. Okay.
I told you I was down the rabbit hole, right? So this is a Finsbury, Filofax Finsbury. And the reason I got this was I was taking my Moxie Life back and forth to work every day when we were going to work back in January, February. And with the other stuff I had in my briefcase, it was too much. And so what I did is I wanted this so I could write. It's a horizontal layout. And what I could do is write my goals in here and have them with me always, like, at work. So that's how this came to be, is I was just trying to keep. So this is my wallet and a personal size planner. So those are the planners that I'm using right now. They are all, the two main ones are Moxie Life, of course, and then the others are supplement to that.
Okay, I have so many thoughts, and Taylor literally just hit it on the head. This is what I'm at. You are going to school and writing a book, ma'am.
Yeah.
And you got a family.
Well, I'm an empty nester. So, I mean, my youngest just graduated from college, so she's home. And my older daughter, the one that's 26, she's home for a little bit now. So we're empty nesters from an age place. Like, I don't have any babies at home. And it takes, guess what? A lot of planning. So I'm an early bird, and I don't know if you ever noticed that my Moxie Life posts are like, 5:45 or 6 o'clock in the morning. I tend to wake up pretty early. And so I do homework in the morning. Okay. And so reading for class, homework, all that, anything school related is typically first thing in the morning. And then in the evenings and weekends sometimes is when I'll do writing. But writing is a treat for me. And so it's one of those, it's like you do a kid, like if you do your homework, you get to have fun, right? Okay. So if I meet my homework goals in the morning, that means I can do other stuff in the evening. And so I tend to do more writing in the evening and the weekends, that kind of thing. But typically after my homework is done. So, yeah.
Okay. Now I have so many thoughts. What are you so what are you actually getting your doctoral degree in, and like what's your area of focus?
It's a PsyD and not a PhD, only because they're very, very similar. PsyDs in psychology are more clinically focused.
Okay.
And so whatever research you do is meant to inform your clinical work. PhDs tend to be, not always, but they tend to be a little more research focused. And
Okay.
I'm a clinician. I want to work with people. I want to be with people. And so even my master's is in counseling psychology as opposed to clinical psychology, because I really, really wanted to focus on being with people. And so I'm doing a PsyD in clinical psychology.
Okay. And what do you want to essentially do your research in?
I don't know. I'm right now, if I had to narrow it down right this second, it's one of two things. It'll probably be around women or women of color in law enforcement and what their experience is, because it's going to be very, very different. The other, which I would say is more 51% of my attention, is using resiliency and positive psychology to help law enforcement, particularly in the recruit school, because I teach at the recruit school. And so particularly to help new recruits be more resilient, and using the tenets of positive psychology to help them. So that's kind of where I'm leaning, because I see that being a bigger thing I could do besides it just being a dissertation. And I'm hoping that, hopefully that research will help inform curriculum for the recruit school.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Tracie.
I know, I'm such a nerd. I embrace my nerdhood though.
Oh my goodness, that's so awesome. Everyone, people said, wow. Robert said, oh, hi, my husband's on. Hey. He said, that's nice. Oh my goodness, that's so, I'm just over here oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I want to answer this question because someone had asked. Planning, it's simple said, I'm curious, with 2 Moxie Life planners, do you do the reflection and weekly actions in both?
I do the reflections and weekly actions in my workhorse, in my girl, that I do it all in here. And then I put the goals over, the goals in my academic planner. I put the goals over there, and the weekly actions over there are just for academic though. But this one does everything. The other one, I just kind of translated over that's pertaining to academic stuff.
Yes.
If that's helpful.
Yes, I think that's very helpful, because I think sometimes someone knowing I'm using the goal setting pages for this particular thing, and I think that's good to know. I'm agreeing. Like Taylor said, your research sounds fascinating and very relevant.
Yay.
Amazing. Yes, nerds make the world go around. And I love this. Sierra is literally, Sierra, I feel like you need to be on this call too. She said, tell everyone about your psychology background. It's so fascinating. So I would love to know, what are you currently doing as your job as a psychologist, and how you kind of got where you are today?
Okay. I'm a psychologist for the state police, for the Michigan State Police. And so our focus is the troopers, obviously, their health and mental health and wellness, but we also do therapy with their families as well. Again, in the effort to keep our troopers and civilians as healthy as possible. I teach at the academy, so I teach things like communication, how to handle when people are mentally ill, that kind of stuff. We do critical incident stress debriefings. And what that is after, let's say, a shooting or a fatal car crash, some really horrific things, a couple of us will go in and do a debriefing with the troopers that were involved. we do presentations, we do traditional therapy. So I love it because I get to do a lot of different things, and no day is ever the same. Yeah. And as soon as you plan something, then all of a sudden there's a shooting or something awful happens, and that changes the whole day. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, it's pretty fascinating work, and I enjoy it a lot. I know the other thing Sierra is asking about is, prior to coming here, I worked at a prison. I was at a prison for 2 years. Yeah, 2 years at a prison working with sex offenders. And so that was some interesting work. And the Michigan Sex Offender Program was meant for people who are about to get out. Okay. So like if somebody was in there for life, we wouldn't work with them. We would work with the folks about to go home in effort to keep them from offending again. And so that was our focus, was people who are about to go home.
Okay. Now my question is, like, that is some heavy work.
Yes.
So how do you essentially not take on that heaviness? Because I feel like I want to know how you not take on the heaviness, and how can other people not take on necessarily the heaviness going on in the world?
Oh, that's a great question. Good boundaries, number one. Very, very, very good boundaries.
How do we set those?
I think you have to start to look at trust your gut. When something don't feel right, it's not right. Right. If somebody's violating a boundary or not, a good way to know somebody's violating a boundary is they won't accept no. Or if you're saying no, thank you, or if you're saying I don't like that, or that's not what I want, and they do it anyway, they're violating a boundary. And so when it feels weird, somebody's violating a boundary. It's okay to say no. And I think sometimes as women, not that men don't, but as women, we are so socialized to take care of everybody else. And our self-care starts to fall to the wayside because we feel guilty for taking the time to take care of ourselves. I know. I know. And so that's part of it right there too, is even establishing that boundary of, you know what, I need to take care of me right now. And so I'm queen of that. Prior to COVID, if you were to look in my annual goals, one of them was to be diligent about what I call a no day. Again, this was before we were sequestered.
You just said no day, and I'm like, what's a no day?
A no day is, other than an emergency, the answer is no. I'm not Tracie, let's go to the movies. Nope. Will you go with me to shopping? Nope. If it's not an emergency, the answer is no.
I've never heard this before. Oh my God. Yeah. I need one of these in my life.
Prior to COVID, because we're at home now, so I don't really need it as much. But under normal circumstances, I schedule a no day. I plan a no day once a month on either a weekend or whatever works, but I plan a no day. And that means I stay home and I may be in my jammies. I may binge watch something on Netflix. I may sleep all day. But the answer is no. Whatever the question is, the answer is no.
Yeah, I'm over here what?
I want to pick up your chin.
I'm just I feel like no's a foreign concept to me.
But that's part of that's a rejuvenation. So you're in answer to your question of how do I manage all that heaviness, that's some of the stuff I do. I take care of myself so that way I I can be 100% for the people that I serve. And so yeah, those no days were plotted out, oh, okay, on November 23rd, that's a no day. It was just that deep. But I do a lot of self-care, and I do the traditional stuff, facials, pedicures, manicures, but I also journal. That's part of taking care of yourself. talking to people who affirm you and who love you. That's taking care of yourself. Being honest about how you feel. That's taking care of yourself. So it's bigger than just what we typically think of when we think of self-care.
Oh my goodness. You just said so many not like nuggets. I'm like, said no day, y'all. She said journaling. Like, I hope y'all are taking notes because I'm gonna have to come back and rewatch this because I'm just like, that's so good. Yeah. Okay, first off, people are like loving this no day. Like, love the no day.
Yay!
No day. Yes to a no day.
Mm-hmm.
I need a no day at least every month. Probably every week. Yes.
And I like that one.
And then I need a no week.
Yes. I mean, that's really like legitimate. What do if you have to do an hour, do that. If you got little kids at home, that might be like not realistic, right? And that's okay. If it's just a couple hours or an afternoon or 3 days a week, yes, do what you can within the realm of what you have going on and your responsibilities. Again, I'm fortunate. I'm an empty nester. My baby is 22. So I don't have any little kids I have to worry about. So don't feel like if you can't do a whole day, I can't do it. No, do an hour. If that's all you can get in there, do an hour and be happy to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think you kind of answered Rachel's question by even just saying that and like even talking about just how you would do it once a month. And my question, how have you found that self-care looks differently in different seasons of life? Like, I don't know if that's a question or a statement. Yeah. Versus for someone who does have kids at home, what might self-care look like from them with babies running around versus someone who's an empty nester?
Right. So self-care for the mom with little kids at home might be saying to a partner, a spouse, a grandma, somebody, hey, will you watch the kids for me for a couple hours? Even if it's in the house, right? Keep them for a couple hours and then go take a nap or read or do something that I call it nourishes your soul. Go do something that nourishes your soul. Even if they're in the same house with you. If you are fortunate enough to have somebody who will take the babies for a couple hours somewhere or let the kids stay home and you go for a couple hours, do that. So it's about carving out that little bit of time to take care of yourself. And then as they get older, then, if you've got teenagers at home who are able to stay home alone for a little bit, maybe you go out and go to a movie or go have dinner or go hang out with some girlfriends, something like that. And then like somebody like me who doesn't have any kids at home, sky's the limit, right? As far as you do what you can outside of COVID and some of the other challenges we have right now. But, definitely don't feel like, well, I can't do a whole day or I can't be gone for, 6 hours. Then be gone an hour if you can, or hire a teenager to come over and sit with the kids while you go take a nap, that kind of thing.
Oh my goodness. That's so good. Now, for someone who may be like struggling, trying to figure out kind of the things that are nourishing their soul, how would you kind of like lead them into helping maybe figure them out? Like what questions should they be asking themselves that they just kind of like, I've gotten lost at work, I've gotten lost in other people, and I kind of have lost sight of that person inside of me, and I don't really necessarily know what fills me up anymore. How would you go about helping them like maybe figure that out?
Oh, that's a really good question. I believe our first book in the book club was the James Clear book, Atomic Habits. If I'm not mistaken, I think that was the first book. If it wasn't the first, it was the second, but I think it was the first. In there, he talked about how we set goals sometimes opposite. We should determine what our identity is and then set the goal based on that. And I said that to say, sometimes it might be helpful to just figure out who you are and sit down and do a journal exercise about your identity. And you can start with the obvious stuff, like I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a worker, that kind of thing. But just kind of let it go and see. I did that exercise. I've done it a couple times this year, actually. And I was shocked at as I kept writing and I kept journaling, I'm like, where's that coming from? Okay. And I just went with it. And so start out by figuring out who you are. Like, what is your identity? What are your beliefs? What are your values? I talked about earlier that relationships are valuable to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I will always make decisions that allow me to preserve a relationship, because that's one of my beliefs and what's valuable to me. So if I'm thinking about self-care, that's like, hey, Darian, we're 4 hours away from each other. I think there's a spa between us. Let's go do that, right? Because now I'm putting my self-care in with a relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so start by asking, who are you? What do you believe in? What are your values? What's important to you? And then start letting it kind of come out from there. And you might be surprised what you find.
Oh I don't know if my mouth just keeps hanging open because everything you're saying is just so good. And I'm like, this is so good. It's so helpful. Because you're mentioning journaling, and I know that you talked about how you do goal setting and journaling with your clients. What have you seen, like, the benefits of journaling and goal setting with your clients? Do you kind of put in the same category?
My dog's barking. Be quiet.
Or would you put them in like two separate categories?
The thing I've seen the biggest of is when they goal set, you can see the concrete evidence, right? Mm-hmm. So when you say, I'm going to eat better, okay, well, what does that look like? That's different than saying, I'm going to eat 3 servings of vegetables every day. Okay. So you can start to check that off, and you can see that. You can see the evidence of what the goal was. And so people sometimes don't realize that's important, to be able to see the evidence. Like, that's why I love using my mile liners, right? Because I can cross it off and see all that, highlight and all those pretty colors and stuff, right? And so that's some of the biggest stuff. And I think sometimes people think you have to journal every day. I don't journal every day. Sometimes I journal once a week. Sometimes I journal 5 times a week. Sometimes I journal once a month. It just depends on if there's something in my head or heart that, like, I can't get to the answer to the equation, right? And I'll journal and I'll start to write it down. And that's what happened. I think Sunday, is either Sunday or Monday, I took the picture and I posted it. And I was journaling about something I couldn't quite get the equation to come to light for me. And by the time I got to the end, the words to one of my favorite songs came to mind, and and it totally fit what I was thinking. And I was in tears by the time it was over. Good tears. It was, wonderful tears. And so, just allow yourself to get in that space and be okay with it.
Okay. Okay. And Taylor has a really great question. She says, as someone who has a hard time quieting their mind, what advice do you have for starting a journaling routine?
Get some journal prompts. Don't feel like you have to reinvent the wheel. There are some great journaling prompts out there. I screenshot a couple off of Instagram. I thought, man, these are great. So just find some journaling prompts out there. And just start, answer one of them, 1 or 2 of those prompts. If it doesn't work, that's okay. Just find another one. Something else that's really, really helpful is an accountability partner. And I have a couple. My daughter is actually one with me. And then Jana, who's a Moxie lifer. We meet once a week. My daughter and I do it at the table, but Jana and I do it via FaceTime. And we talk about, this is what I'm struggling with. This is what's going well. This is what I journaled about. So on Sunday, when she and I met, I talked to her about what I journaled that day that brought me to tears. And so, it's a good, healthy, affirming relationship. And so we listen to each other. So that's a great way to use your journaling to be able to talk with somebody you trust, that's not going to tell your business and that kind of thing. So that's a great way to use that.
I can't stop smiling. Everything you're saying is just like pure gold. Like, let's. Okay, so now the stationary planner in me wants to know: do you have any favorite journals that you like using? Any favorite pens that you like using when you're journaling?
Okay, so I love this minimalism art. Oh, yeah.
What?
Minimalism art. I love it. And it's got an index in there. So the first part is my journal. The back half is when we do our book club and I take notes. That's what the back half is. But the cool thing is it has an index in the front so you can put what pages, and it's got page numbers. So I love my minimalism art journal. And I use, when I'm writing in my journal and in my planner, I use a friction erasable pen. I'm a blue pen girl. And so I love my friction erasable pens. I've got a couple of those. These two hold several colors, but I take them all out and put all blue in there. And so it's you remember those kind of pens where it's like 3 or 4 different colors, right? Well, mine are all blue. I take the other colors out and put those in there. So those are really those erasable pens. Like if you look at all of there's one in there, there's one in there. There's one in that little black and white A5. So I love the erasable pens. Those are my favorites.
I love that. And I love that you are on the right side, the blue side, and knowing.
Yes.
I mean,
my husband gets the black pens. It's like, here, you can have that.
I know. I'm like, why do you want to write in black pen? I don't understand. But I mean, some people love it.
And just so you know, there are studies out there that say people remember things better when they're in blue ink. Just saying.
Wait. Just saying. Say it again for the people in the back. Say it one more time.
There are studies out there that say people remember better when they write in blue ink. They remember what they wrote better.
Y'all need to go get some blue pens right now. Some of y'all just need to get on Amazon and order you a couple blue pens.
If I could show you my stash, like there was a time I was embarrassed about my stash, but not anymore. It's my stash. I have lots and lots of pens.
Oh my goodness. There's one thing I got tonight is that now I have an excuse to tell people why they need to be team blue ink, because there's studies out there that tell you that you remember things if you write it in blue ink.
Yep. Blue ink. Something about blue ink. It sticks better. I don't know what it is, but doesn't matter. I'm a blue ink person.
Oh my goodness.
Kristen would probably argue with us that no. I guarantee you she would argue against that.
Oh my Jessica said, whatever is working ink. Team whatever is working ink.
I like that. I like
that too. Oh my goodness. This is so I love y'all so much. Okay, so what would you say are what have you found to be the benefits of someone who, of planning, with your clients in general? What have you found are the benefits of actually planning, but also paper planning as well?
Yeah, surprisingly enough, folks who are a little bit anxious and struggle with anxiety, they do well with planning because it gets it out of their head and it puts it down on paper. And so it gives somewhere to go. Okay, I've done that. I don't have to worry about that anymore. I've done that. I don't have to worry about it anymore. And so, yeah, I've quite a few folks, I've suggested, I didn't make them do it, but I suggested, have you thought about getting a paper planner of some sort to help organize your thoughts? Mm-hmm. And people with ADD and ADHD, that kind of thing, that it'll help them a lot because it gets it out of their head onto paper so they don't have to worry about it so much. And so, yeah, it can be really beneficial for people like that.
Oh my goodness. Okay. And do you know, so do you find, sorry, I got distracted by a comment. Yes, Taylor. She says that's so me. It calms me down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you find that they're between the different layouts, I don't know if you would know this or not, but between people who use horizontal planners and vertical planners, I
have not heard that, but I should probably see if there's something out there.
I'm just super curious. I know, like when it was probably Sierra that I was talking to, that like people who use the vertical tend to be listers versus the horizontal tend to be more journaling, less time constraint in the horizontal. I don't know. Y'all comment below. Let me know, like, why do you use the layout that you use? Like, I'm very curious if there's like a reason why people may prefer horizontal to. Sierra just said, I have a theory. Okay, let us know your like put the theory. I'm very curious. I'm very curious. Okay. Another question for you, Tracie. This was actually someone had sent this one in. I think it was how do you like when as planners, we like to plan, but what do we do? Like how do we cope when things don't go according to plan? And so kind of like what would you like what are like some coping strategies when it comes to that?
Be flexible, right? Give yourself some grace. Like that, if I had no other word for it, I would say give yourself some grace. Because planning is great. Obviously, I love it. I do it to the nth degree. But at the same time, life doesn't always go according to plan, right? And so be flexible. Give yourself some grace. Give yourself permission to be okay when it doesn't go according to plan. Find out, okay, like let's say I had 10 things to do today and I only got to 5 of them. Celebrate the 5. Celebrate those small wins. Even though it might not have been everything you wanted to do, you still did something. The other thing is too, there's a great book out there called The 4 Agreements, and his name is Miguel Ruiz, I believe, if I'm remembering it right. One of the 4 agreements is always do your best. But the caveat to that is your best looks different on different days. So think about what your best might look like if you have the flu, compared to what your best looks like when you're healthy. If you have the flu, the best you can do is get out of bed and get some orange juice, and that's it. That's it. There's nothing else you can do. And so it's the same thing with this great question. Give yourself permission to realize your best will look different days. And if you can't get to everything, that's okay. You got to some of it. Or if you didn't get to any of it, maybe it wasn't meant to happen that day, and then regroup for the next day. And so just recognize we all need grace. We need to give ourselves some grace.
That's good about our best looking differently on different days. Cause I feel like a lot of stress comes from us trying to have this ideal best day and not realizing that like every day's not going to be like that. And we keep trying to force ourselves to have this, like, this is my best day. This is my best day. This is my, like, when also like we may not be in the same season of life as we were when we created that best day.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I was laughing the other day because I said, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What'd you say?
No, I'm taking it in because I'm like, I think I need to hear that because I feel like it's hard because it's like you plan for, different seasons of your life, and it's just like, but you're not in that season of life. So why are you trying to operate like you're in that season of life?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where you're at. Yeah,
absolutely. That is exactly it. And just allowing yourself to be where you are. Right. I set a goal about walking my dog and how many, miles I'm going to walk him, usually because he's a Jack Russell and he's pretty high strung. So I try to get in at least a mile every day. On some good days, I'll do 2.5, something like that. And I was telling my husband about the time because I have an Apple Watch, and I was like, yeah, we had a really good time today. And I made a joke about, 15 years ago, that walk would have been 15 minutes for a mile or whatever. And I'm like cooking at 17 minutes right now. And I'm like, yay, right? I'm older than I was 15 years ago. And so, I'm just happy to be able to get the walk in, forget the time. But yeah, absolutely. Give yourself permission to be where you are. And sometimes that's 100%, and sometimes it's 40, but it's a good 40, and that's okay.
I love that. It's a good 40.
It's a good 40.
40. I need to write that down. Sometimes it's a good 40, Darian, because I think that's the biggest thing I struggle with is like I'm having to train myself to stay present and be essentially where my feet are at, like being in the moment. So, that's so good.
Absolutely.
Just a wealth of knowledge.
I'm old.
No.
I think that might be it. I've been around a minute, so.
Well, you don't look like it.
Well, and that's all that matters, right? You can 100 as long as you don't look 100. It's all good.
I love that. Okay. I don't know if you can see the comments, but everyone has like all these approaches to horizontal and vertical. Y'all, this is I do think we need a poll. So we have vertical approaching the day by time / schedule. Hannah said vertical helps me line everything up so I can see the day more easily. So it's like this sense of line. Okay. Horizontal approach the days by task.
Oh, yeah. I like that. Yeah, I could see that.
That makes a lot of sense because I feel like I tried that for the first half of the year, but it just seemed, when I went to the vertical, it just made sense because when I don't know, when I sticker or when I lay out my vertical layout, I do approach it like this is the time that I'm doing this and like this is the schedule. And then I put my to-dos based off the time appointments. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah. See, and with my appointments are electronic, so they're in my work phone. So I don't have to use my planner for that. So yeah, that would make perfect sense that it would be the time.
Yeah, all these are so good. But the vertical just lets me see all my tasks together and all my I used vertical being more left brain and the horizontal being more right brained.
I could see that. See that.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Tammy said, I see everything in my head, so my brain needs to see my day start to finish. The vertical is the way I see the hours, even if I don't set everything to a set time. I agree, Tammy. Like Tammy, yes. I get that. I totally get that. Yes. Yes, Tracie is throwing down some wisdom. I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. Y'all, if you have any questions for Tracie right now, get them ready so we can get ready to ask her before we have to head out. I love that word too, Sierra, permission, giving ourselves permission. Do you feel like sometimes, can we give ourselves too much grace and too much permission, Tracie?
Ooh, I don't know. You're talking to a positive psychology person. I'm going to say I need response is no. But I guess what you'd have to look at is, are you falling into complacency, right? So if you're saying, well, I give myself grace not to do something. And if that's every day, every you're going 6 months giving yourself permission not to do something, then I could see you kind of falling into complacency or a rut and not moving forward. Really giving yourself grace is letting yourself be human. It's that person who beats themselves up. They're on a diet or they're trying to eat better and they have, a cupcake. To me, that's a grace moment that, it happened to me because my husband and I try to eat keto for the most part. And this had to be May. I was having a day. I was having a day. And I walked out of a session because we do them all virtually. And I walked out of the bedroom because I have to keep everything as private as possible. So I walked out of the bedroom and I said to my husband, I'm having a cupcake and that's just what I'm doing today. You may join me or not, but I'm having a cupcake today. And I turned around and walked off and he's like, okay. And it was a cupcake day. I needed a cupcake. I had a cupcake. I felt better. I went on to the next day and, it was fine. So you for those moments or you know what, I'm a human being and I needed a cupcake, doggone it, and I had one. And so I feel like especially as women, we fall more the other way of not giving ourselves any grace and any permission. So I think it would be harder to, in my mind, to go the other way, but you do definitely want to be careful not to.
Yes. Okay. Okay. I like that. Um, okay, this was a question from Instagram. This was from Sierra. She had asked, how do you protect yourself from toxic people, especially with, your career field and the people that you work with, especially in the past? Like, how do you protect yourself from toxic people, and how would you encourage someone else? Because I know you had also talked about accountability. So, like, how can we go about having healthy relationships that way?
I have a little saying, and I'm not going to swear because, but I have this saying, what's my ish versus what's yours. And so, like, sometimes it's helpful to take a step back and go, wait a minute, is this my baggage or is this your baggage? Because I don't have to own your baggage, right? I can help you with it. If you want me to help you unpack your baggage, I will try to help you with that, but I don't have to own it. And so a good question, like, let's say if somebody snaps at you and you haven't done anything wrong to that person, that's their stuff, right? And so that's a good little in the moment question to ask yourself, is this mine or is this theirs? And if it's theirs, it's okay to let them have it. Like I don't have to be a party to it. I tell folks, don't accept invitations to fight. You can decline because people will give you an engraved invitation to fight. You don't have to accept it.
Wait, okay. Okay, how do you know? Okay, can we just, because we live in a digital world, especially social media.
Yes.
And people be posting crazy nonsense stuff. So what are maybe some practical boundaries we can set so we do not, because I feel like someone, they start, like, they just come reckless in a comment, or they say something completely off the wall. And like you said, like, you don't have to accept that invitation to fight. Like, help us out. What can we do? How can we not accept that invitation to fight?
The reality is, are you going to change their mind in a Facebook, Instagram exchange? Like, realistically, if somebody's being awful, are you really going to change their mind in that environment? Probably not. The chances are slim to none that you're really going to change that person's mind. So when you recognize that you know what, that's not my stuff, that's their stuff, block them, ignore it. People will ask you, or they'll make one of two kinds of statements or questions, really questions. It's information, like, Darian, what time do you want me to be there? Do you need me to bring something? That's an informational question. Darian, how do I get a Moxie Life planner? Or how do I get a Molly Ollie caddy, right? That's information. There's another kind of question people will ask that are challenging questions, and they really don't want an answer. Like, if somebody says to you, is this your first day? Like, on the job, is this your first day? How are you going to answer that? If you say, well, yes, it is my first day, they're going to say, well, go get me somebody that knows what they're doing, because you clearly don't, right? If you say, I've been here for 5 years, they're going to say, well, go find me somebody, that knows what they're doing, because you've been here for 5 years and you don't know what you're doing, right? A challenging question, there's no answer to that. Ignore it. Go right on by it. So when you see those kind of posts, they're just looking for a rise out of you. They're looking to have a couple minutes of your attention and your time. Because my thing is, if you're hating on me, why are you on my page? Why are you even looking? Why am I on your radar at all? And so it's not worth getting into it. Because my thing is, for every one of those, there's 100 of us who think you are amazing, right? And so put your focus on the folks that really care and the folks that really, like, follow you for the right reasons, not just to see who they can hate on today. And so, yeah, just sometimes I know it's hard. It is really hard, but you kind of got to let it go because you're never going to change their mind in the moment anyway. So it's not worth it.
That's so good. So good. And everyone's commenting like, yes, like especially when you said like sometimes you just gotta block people or unfollow people or just yes.
Yeah. Because the people who really care about you and you really care about, like, if I had a problem with you, Darian, I'm not putting it on Instagram. I'm going to text you, call you, email you, and say, hey, can we talk? Because I feel like we have something we need to talk about. People who really care are going to do that. They're not going to put you on blast because it just feels good to do that. Nobody's going to do that if they really care about you. And so we just have to recognize friend in the digital world is not exactly the same as in reality.
Oh, that's so good. Y'all, this was such a great conversation. I want to know what has been your biggest takeaway from tonight's conversation. I have so many, but I want to hear what y'all favorite has been. And Tracie, the last thing I just would love for you to answer is the common thread that I've seen throughout this conversation is not focusing on the negative, but again, focusing on the positive, back to the positive psychology. For someone who naturally isn't necessarily like I know I'm naturally wired to be on the positive end of the spectrum. Like that's just how I'm wired. For someone who is not, what are some maybe small things that they can do to start looking on necessarily the positive side of things?
Yeah, find the silver lining. There's always a silver lining, always. And I've used this example before. My mom passed away 5 years ago this past February. My mom and I were very close. I was her only child. I have a brother and a sister from my dad's second marriage, but I am my mother's only child. When my mom passed away, I was sitting there on the front pew looking at her casket, thinking, I'm so grateful she was my mom. She was amazing, wonderful person. And most of who I am is attributed to Bobby. That was her name. So gratitude, number one. There's always something to be grateful for. You got up this morning. You're awake. You're alive. You're in some semblance of a right mind, right? Be grateful. I talked about this in one of the Wednesday wellness posts. You can't be in gratitude and depression at the same time. Your brain chemistry won't allow both to happen at the same time. So it has to be one or the other. So finding something to be grateful for, finding the silver lining. COVID and the civil unrest and everything that's been going on, none of us could have predicted or planned that, right?
Yeah.
There are some upsides to that. The upside is people are spending more time with their family. People are discovering what's really important. Remember back when we thought going out all the time was important, heading to the movies and out to eat was important? COVID showed us that that's not as important as we thought because we had to figure out other ways to be, right? Yes. So there's things I've learned about myself during this time that I would not have learned any other way. And I know I wouldn't have. And I see that as a positive. So find what is the silver lining? There has to be one. If I can find one at my mother's funeral, there's one to be found. And so that's a good way to start is gratitude, find the silver lining, get yourself around people that won't let you stay negative, right? Having those good relationships in your life where somebody will look at you and go, girl, stop. You've got a good life. Let's flip this around. Right. And so get with people that will help you do that and help you see the positive, because you're going to get evidence of whatever you believe. So if you believe the world is a negative place, that's what you're going to get evidence of. If you believe the world is a good place with good people, you'll get evidence of that. And so those are just some little things to start doing. Start with gratitude. Our planner has it right in there, has it right built in to have some gratitude. And so that's a great place to start.
Y'all, so good. So good. I think that is literally I think that's the best way to end this conversation tonight. Just starting there, going back to gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Y'all, I just want to let you guys know, like, please, if you have not already, make sure you're following Tracie. Like, she is just so much fun. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining me tonight. Like, this is so just restoring to my soul. Like, I really appreciated our conversation tonight. And I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, you're so welcome. Thank you for asking me. I literally squealed, like squealing when I saw your text message. So I appreciate it. And I do. I was teasing Darian that I've been following her all the way back to the very beginning, back in December, because I thought you had such a sweet spirit, and like anything you're a part of, I'm all about it, because I do. I think you're doing some amazing stuff. And I sit and watch and I'm like, I just love her. So thank you for asking me. I mean that sincerely. I was so honored when you asked, because I kept thinking, she's got really cool people on here. Are you sure you want me?
Yes. And I want you to go back and look at all these comments of everyone's takeaways and just your wisdom. Like, this is why I had you on. Like, and I just appreciate you so much. And y'all, thank y'all so much for joining us tonight. I will see you next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Bye. Bye.